Welcome back to another episode of This Old Mannequin. I'm your host, David Schaublock. Today we're going to talk about doing hives on a mannequin. And this comes straight out of one of the message boards. It was a need and an ask, and so I thought I'd make a quick video on it to show how I do it, how I think it's pretty effective. So, you guys all know I love moulage, and I love my alcohol palettes, and I like my cream makeups and things like that. And you can do hives 100 different ways. And you can do it 100 different ways with those alcohol paints. But when I need to do hives, that's not how I do it. I like tattoos. Now, I'm not talking about like tattoos and things like that. And sometimes I mention it and people are thinking it's having an anchor on your mannequin or something like that. That's another topic for another time. No, I'm talking about trying to make an effect on your mannequin that is easy to make, that is repeatable, and that cleans off very, very quickly. And that's why I love the tattoos. So if you've ever been in one of my classes, you know I love the Tinsley Transfer stuff. It's a pre-made tattoo, and it looks great. Fell off my table. So this is one of the more kind of cheesy ones, but you can buy them, and they're pretty great. They work just like any tattoo that you've ever had as a kid, or, you know, we still like tattoos. You just cut it off, transfer it to the skin of a person with water, because it's on water slide paper, and it stays on for a few days and things like that. But you can actually take glues and transfer these to Tegaderm. So I love Tegaderm. Tegaderm comes in all different sizes and things like that. But you can transfer it to there, and then I sandwich another one over. And I've done videos on this before, and some of them are dated. I need to redo them, but we're going to use that sort of effect to make a hive on a mannequin. So what I'm going to use is printable tattoo paper. And the current brand of choice that I like is off Amazon. It's called SUNNYSCOPA. Forever I used Papilio, but that got to be where you couldn't find it. You couldn't get to it. So right now, 2-day ship is pretty awesome. It comes in both inkjet and laser, so pay attention to what you're going to be printing on, because the way it prints it and the way it works is a little bit different. Pretty much the same, though. You're basically putting pigments onto a water slide paper. So then the next question I get is, well, if I'm not using the Tinsley stuff, where am I getting the images? So the way I do it is I go to Google, and I use a Google image search. There's a few tools on there that'll help you find a higher resolution or a larger image. But this way you can find what you like, what you think works well, and best suits your needs or your learning objectives, as we talk about. So I've done that. I've done that in a little bit of a video, and we're going to show you that real quick, and we're going to come back. So you go to Google or image search and put in what you're looking for, and then go up to image search. Now, there's some tools that'll help you right up there. And if you click that and do size, you can pick large. And this is going to actually give you all of the images that are large, so you don't have one that's scaled down and unusable. And then click what you're liking, go through there. You might have to drill down. It's going to give you some more selections under there, but look around and find whatever image works for you. Scrolling through, and I think this is the one that we're probably going to use. Go ahead and save it. Then we're going to flip over to your photo editing application here. I'm using Photoshop. It's what I've got. And what I want to do first is kind of bring out some of the colors, play with the brightness, the contrast, and bring the colors out. Delete some of the other things in the background that you're not going to need. And from that point, I'm going to kind of get rid of some of the skin real quick. Find this little guy here I like, and I'm going to cut him, bring him out to the side so I don't hurt him while I'm getting rid of the skin on this side here. I want to make sure there's all soft edges. You don't want any sharp edges, because that'll look very, very fake. And make it a little softer as well. And then going through here, I'm always tweaking the image, or tweaking the colors. Going through here, fuzzing the edges on that one. Don't went too hard, so smaller brush, fuzzed it in there.
Keep tweaking those colors. Then what you want to do is get your 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper layout and start laying out as many as you can on one page. The tattoo paper isn't exorbitantly expensive, but it's $1 or $2 a sheet, and you want to get all you can out of it. So I tend to go in my layout editor and really maximize the size. Get things kind of close together, but so that you don't get damages when you go ahead and cut them all out. Now I had these hives over here that I've been using for years that weren't nearly as elegantly made, but gosh, they just work. So I'm going to bring some of those in on this sheet as well. Resize some of this stuff. Move it over. Bring some more in. Maximize your space. Get rid of the ones that hang out. From that point on, just want to save it out to your computer, and you're good.
Now that we've got our image, we've got what we want and that sort of thing, and we've printed it out and we have it on this water slide paper, or this tattoo paper. Now, if you notice here, I don't know if you can notice, but some of the rollers picked up some of the pigment and it's not perfect. So you got to see what's going to work for you. Do you need to add pigment some other way? Do you need to not use those? That's fine. But I mean, look how many I got on there. So I've got the ones that we made in the video, and then I've got the ones that I've been using forever. And I'm telling you what, it's great. I think they work great. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll try to print things double. So I'll print it over once, I'll print it over twice. Honestly, I don't like the effect that got. But this sheet actually turned out pretty well, and that's, I think, what we're going to use. So put this stuff to the side. We're going to grab a pair of scissors out here, and we're going to find out which hive we want to use. This one here, we left a little bit more skin on. These are the ones that we originally found and showed. I like these pretty well for a really small one, but if I want a good urticaria sort of look on there, I like these as well. So we're going to do probably 1 or 2 of each. Now, if you're going to print these out and store them, you want to make sure you protect them, because as you've seen on a couple of the others, you can actually scrape that pigment straight off. I printed these by laser, but even that, you can get damage on them. So honestly, what I like to do is if I'm going to make them, I go through the entire motion, I put them on the Tegaderm and, go for it, because then when I put another Tegaderm over top of it, it gives a protective layer. Okay. All right. So now we're going to talk Tegaderm. I love Tegaderm. I think it's great, especially if you can find it free and expired. It's awesome. So there are these little guys. There's the size that, a lot of us use for when I was with emergency medicine, we put it over an eye or something like that. So it's a 4x4, and that's what I use most of the time. So we've got all that. But the original ask was to be able to put it on a silicone-based Manikin, specifically a Laerdal Sim Baby version 2. Now, the first ones had the TPE skins. A lot of the Manikins we deal with, such as Nursing Ann, Nursing Kelly, and things like that, those have the PVC-based skins, and the standard Tegaderms stick right to them, and it's awesome. So when Laerdal started making these silicone-based Manikins, they were pretty smart about things, and they said, hey, people are going to complain that nothing sticks to silicone. So they started offering their silicone-based dressings. And I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I just happen to love the fact that they include these on some of the Manikins when you buy them, or you can buy them. So if you're using a silicone-based Manikin that's not Laerdal, you can still get these. And these are Tegaderms that have a silicone adhesive on it. So as you can see, it says silicone all over it. So because this original ask was for a silicone-based one, I don't know if you can see it on there. I have it on backwards, that's why. But, we're going to actually put this onto here. Threw up just a little bit of water, nothing special about it. I'm gonna grab a paper towel. Now, the only thing that I didn't do right, and I totally messed up on, was with these SUNNYSCOPA tattoo transfer papers, they give you an adhesive. So for something like the Tinsley transfers, I tend to use a silicone-based adhesive. It works so great, it doesn't destroy the image. But on these, they actually give you a whole nother sheet of adhesive. And what I should have told you to do was, before you started cutting it up, take this and transfer it straight over to it. I didn't do that, so I guess I got to do it the hard way now. So all I'm going to do is measure the size of these, cut some sections that will work for it, and transfer it to the tattoo. So then all you do is peel off the protective side. If you can see, it's not completely clear because the adhesive stays on the sheet of acetate. Make sure you don't have any coffee grounds or anything that's still rolling around in your kit when that exploded into your makeup kit. And all we're going to do is transfer that glue, press real good, and get it all on there. Okay, and now I'm going to do it on the rest of these. So as you see, you just got to press them on firm, get it in there, make sure it sticks really, really well. And that way you don't have to use any sorts of other glues. Because the problem is, whether it's inkjet or laser, putting these pigments on a water slide paper makes them pretty fragile. It's very easy to destroy the image. Before I found the SUNNYSCOPA that had the glue on it, I had to try to find other glues, and most of the glues, you'd put it on there and the pigment's just gone. So clean up your space, make sure nothing's in your way. And now we've got a good set of tattoos that we're going to start transferring over to these Tegaderms. We're going to start with this nice big one here, like that. So all we're going to do is peel off the adhesive carefully, making sure that the adhesive is staying over your image. Find a nice space. Make sure you don't put it right to the edge, because you need a little bit of edge left when you're doing this. I'm pretty frugal, so really I want to use as much of this space and not use it for one as possible. This is just how I am. You do how you are. I've still got some space in this one here, so I'm going to take this next one. Got a little coffee ground in the way. No big deal. Don't like that, so we're going to grab another one. Just wasn't enough space, some border space to be able to. I'm going to press it firmly down like that. Now I've got plenty of room for all these little guys. So now we have them all stuck down to the Tegaderm. I'm going to take my syringe of just regular water, and I'm just going to drip it on to the back side of this paper. So it's basically just cardstock with a release agent on it. And so you have to have this thing I'm not real strong at, is called patience. So we're going to go ahead and drip it on there. And I'm not going to be shy with it. Because what it has to do is it has to get through the paper and hit that parting agent, or that release that's on there, to leave the pigments on the paper. So now I've got that all saturated. I'm going to use my time wisely and clean up my space so that I don't pull this off too early. Because what happens is, and I do this every time, I wait 10 seconds. You know, people say, how long? It's only until it comes off. And so you got to be patient and sit there and wait. And then what you'll end up doing is being impatient. You'll take the cardstock off the first one, damage the image, and that one's wasted. But maybe if we're lucky here. Ooh. See, this one feels like it's still stuck a little bit, so I'm going to leave it. That one slid completely off really easy because it was smaller. But the larger the image, the longer it takes because it's really got to get through that. And there we go. It's really just that easy. So now what we've got is all of our images on there. It's all kinds of wet. So we want to make sure we go through and dry them up carefully. We don't want your paper towel to stick to the adhesive and pull your image off. So I usually go through with a big mop paper towel, and then I go through with a dry one. So at this point, I've got a tattoo or an image stuck to a silicone-based Tegaderm that's ready to go on a mannequin. No, it's not. Relax. Put the hands down. So now comes in when I'm really frugal, and I want to use this over and over again. If this was going on a person, we would not use this more than once. Don't do it. Don't be tempted. Just don't do it. You're going to pull epithelials off. You're going to share ick. It's just not good. But a mannequin, don't really care. So how am I going to make this, usable more than once? Well, I'm going to put something over it again. Now, as much as I love these Tegaderms, they're expensive. They're not cheap by any way, shape, or fashion. So we want to use them as much as we can. But the thing is, now I've got a surface that'll stick to a silicone-based mannequin, but it's not silicone. So that means, can't I just take a regular Tegaderm and sandwich it right over top? Yes, you can. So a lot of times these frames, especially if you're like me and you get them, donated to you and they're old, they don't like coming off the image. So make sure you leave some room so if that paper doesn't come off, you're not messing up your tattoo. So I'm going to space out so that I can get everything and pull kind of tight and start from the center and work out. Try not to get wrinkles. But again, we're meeting learning objectives. We don't care if it's a little bit off. Grab one more Tegaderm. Pull tight. Put it over that one. I got a little goober on there, but we'll cut that out. It'll be fine. So now what I do is I go ahead and you can either keep them like this and they will store forever. It's awesome. Or you can cut them up. And what I do is I like having lots of documentation for my simulations. So if I need this for a specific sim, I put it in a bin, and therefore I know the next time I got to run that sim, if I didn't have time to plan ahead, it's already taken care of. So at the end of every one of my sims, I make sure that we prep for the next one so that if we are busy and don't have time, we're already ready already. You want sharp scissors, put a little tension against the blades so that it will actually cut better, because Tegaderm's a little funky to cut. I'm going to take that frame off and see if I get lucky. There we go. I got overlapping Tegaderm, so I'm just going to cut off any of that. See, overlapping Tegaderm again. All I'm going to do is cut that off. So I can do that to all of them. So now I've got a flat two-dimensional image that I can peel off. I can stick it onto a Manikin. I can run my sims. I can then, if I'm careful, peel it off, stick it back on that backing, and use it again. But then if we go back to the original ask, it mentioned that they wanted kind of a three-dimensional effect, and they wanted it to be raised off of the flat paper. Well, how are we going to do that? That's just a two-dimensional image. Let's talk about that. So there's lots of things that we can put between that layer of Tegaderm and our pigments of the image we're putting on. Nothing crazy, but I tend to try not to go out and buy a whole lot of things. Use what's around your shop. You can use the dreaded nose and scar wax if you want. Maybe heat it up a little bit carefully to more get it flattened. It's just sticky and gets everywhere. If you have gel effects, this is actually a really good thing to use for that. Any sort of gelatin you can heat up and just put a drop or two on there. It works pretty well. So I have something that's a lot like gelatin. It's called medium density gel wax. It's used in the candle making industry. My first shop, we had this. It's ultrasoundable. It melts nicely and all that. So we like it a whole lot. And I've still got a little bit. So I'm going to heat this up, and we're going to drip some onto some of this silicone Tegaderm and see what we got. Sound good? So I'll be right back. Just like that. Okay, it's really hot, so I couldn't do the dramatic snap thing. But anyways. So we've got it melted down for the most part here. Use safety, practices. It's about 200 degrees when it gets liquid. So be safe as much as you can. So what we're going to do here is just kind of stir things around. And all I need is just a very little bit of it, wherever I'm going to put images or pictures on. So really, all I want to do is drip a little where I want to put a hive. That might be a little close, but we're going to go with it. And it doesn't have to be uniform, because hives are not a uniform sort of thing. We're going to give that a minute to kind of cool down. Put this to the side, where I'm not going to burn myself. I'm going to pull off what I don't like. But basically, I've got 3 nice little blobs there. I think that should work pretty nicely. I'm actually going to move this one. Now that it's cooled down, I can kind of do that. So now I'm going to get my pigments again, or my images again. We're going to go back to this sheet here. Put my adhesive on there. And then put it right over that gob. Now, it's not going to sit perfectly, and it's not going to be perfectly flat, because obviously we're using a 3-dimensional image now, or 3-dimensional surface. And that's okay. What I try to do is press down and tack as much of it as possible, and that helps kind of get it to transfer. and we go back to our water. Hopefully I have enough. We'll see. You're probably going to have to use a little more because it's going to slide off that three-dimensional surface. So I'm not as liberal with the water. A little slower, a little more patient, so it'll actually soak it up. Now we wait. Wait. That's why I always use this time to clean up my area. And we're going to start with these little guys here. See what we can see. Now, can you see the glob underneath it? Well, yeah, you can. That's fine. And what I'm going to do is probably press it down, get through there, try to make it stick better, dry it off. I didn't have the alignment on that one perfect. Now, the reason to print them twice is because you get more pigments, and that helps. But again, we're meeting learning objectives quickly. And the biggest thing is we want our providers to learn that ain't right. I should probably do something about that. And that doesn't look right. So dry up your area. And what's the last step? Another Tegaderm over top of it. Pull off my frame. Unstick it from my counter. Trim it down. Again, you want to give yourself a little extra space around the image. How much? It's up to you. How much you think it needs. But just don't go too close. You can even use a pin to get any other air bubbles out. Here's some. So now we have a three-dimensional image that we can peel the back of off. Stick it to a mannequin, not a real person. We can now run those simulations. We could pull it off. Obviously, because it's been on my skin, it's going in the trash. But with the silicone, you can stick it back on there, warehouse it, you're good to go. So the reason I like this is they're quick, they're easy. I can make them up days ahead of time or weeks or months. It doesn't matter. They'll store. And therefore, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to stress out. I like pre-work and get ahead of it. And you can do this with almost any image you find on the internet that meets your learning objectives. So works pretty well. You ought to try it. I hope you'll like it. Make sure you leave comments and all that on the video. Subscribe to us and, so you always get the latest videos and that sort of thing. So, comments, questions, I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned again for another episode of This Old Manikin. Thank you for your time.